Hello, I'm Annalouise, and this video is I think this might help you. It's helping me, this idea that's been coming to me this week, and so I wanted to share it with you. And I'm going to share a couple of stories up front, but before I do so, the whole theme is around how we can build familiarity with things that are new in order that we can open up possibility and choice and feel less fear. That's the real prize, to feel less fear and to be able to live more of this human life and all that's available to us. Starting with the stories, I'll start with one. This weekend I was in a singing course, a 3-day singing course. Most of my life I have mimed when I'm singing with other people. It's felt the safest thing to do. And so singing isn't something that's in my comfort zone. I didn't grow up with singing being something that really resonated. And it's only in the last few years that I've had more desire to sing and have been more curious about it. And I felt brave signing up for this course. And it felt even more brave when I discovered nearly everyone in the course had had quite a lot of experience in singing one way or another, singing lessons, singing all sorts of different things. There were only a few of us that really didn't have much experience at all. And one of the parts of the course was to sing in front of the whole group. As you might imagine, it was very nerve-wracking for me, having very little confidence in my voice. And so the first day, I tried to sing, my throat was so tight and I was so nervous, not much was coming out. And I was curious around, wow, it's great that I'm doing this, and I'm noticing that it's really unfamiliar for me to sing in front of people in that way. I've sung with other people in groups a bit over the last few years, but to be singing, performing to people felt deeply scary. The other story was sort of the antithesis in some ways. I was at the beach with some friends. It was really windy, the sea was rough, there were waves, and 5 of us went into the water. My friends and I went into the water together, and not far in, one of my friends decided it wasn't for him and went back to the beach. And then the others were all hanging around like waist height, not going too far into the waves. And that's where generally most people are at along the whole beach, just respecting the waves and the ocean. I'm really comfortable in a way that I'm not with singing. I'm really comfortable with the sea and rough sea as well. I grew up swimming in the sea, and I've continued to swim in the sea throughout many years. And I love it. I totally love it. I'm used to swimming on my own in the sea. So I turned to one of my friends and said, I'm going to go for quite a long swim. Don't worry about me. I'll be absolutely fine. I'm used to this. And she said, fine. And I said, could you tell everyone else so they don't need to be worried? And she said she would. So I headed off out through the waves and swam out offshore and then swam along the coast a little bit, and then came back. I wasn't too long because I knew I didn't want to think, they would worry about me. And I came back. And when I came back, as I was walking up the beach, I saw the 2 lifeguards next to my friends on the beach. And I was like, what's going on here? And it turns out that a couple of my friends had got worried about me. And so they'd gone up to the lifeguard station, and the lifeguards had come down and they were just asking some questions about what did she look like and where did she go? And at that point they looked round and, she's here. And they were really, really relieved. So I had 2 friends that were worried. Then another friend, as I was walking up the beach, said, well, I wasn't at all worried. I knew you were fine. So it was very much a personal reaction, right? Like some people were more scared than others. And I personally didn't have fear on that occasion, unlike the singing. And I think my friends who were scared were really unfamiliar with that type of sea. It wasn't something they're used to swimming in. for them, yeah, it just it felt like it wasn't safe territory. And so this idea that fear is around our level of familiarity started to emerge within me, and the sense that when I'm scared about something, scared about doing something new, something I want to do but feels like just too big a step, is how can I build up familiarity in a way that's gentle, so that little by little the fear doesn't need to be so present. In the singing course, it was a sort of a baptism of fire, but if I'd been more conscious about it, I could have perhaps taken more baby steps before entering the singing course. And that leads me on to this other territory of how people have different attitudes in confronting fear. So some of us embrace fear and do things anyway, even when we're really scared. And then others of us, if something's really scary, we'll choose not to do it because it feels better to us to not have the experience of doing something, but to stay with that sense, a greater sense of security. And I definitely have friends in both polarities. Where do you think you are on that scale? Do you think you're more someone that perhaps doesn't live all of your aspirations and dreams because of the fear that's present? Or are you someone that just steps in anyway and embraces those difficult sensations in the body? I have a beautiful friend of mine called Lucas who really is on that scale of embracing everything. He's a great role model for me. I was talking to him about fear the other day because he was also on the singing course, and he was saying, yeah, I've really shifted in my relationship to fear. So before, I wouldn't step into things that were scary for me. My life was very similar all the time. But now I realise that if I really want to be more of myself and grow and evolve, then I want to be stepping into the fear, because every time I do, it creates this wider sense of possibility for myself. It gives me more options. This base of familiarity grows and grows and grows. And in so doing, it can just mean more and more things come into my life, in his life. And the other thing he said was that for him, when he feels fear, it just gives him this great sense of aliveness. He can really feel how alive he is when he feels those strong feelings coming through. And it got me contemplating that I want to embrace more of that style of living, of seeing my fear, rather than focusing on all those difficult sensations that can happen with fear, focusing on, wow, if I do this, it's going to build my platform of familiarity. And if I build my platform of familiarity, I'll be able to do more and more and more and more, right? It just keeps growing. What I notice when I step into new things is that initially when I step into something, I'm prioritizing certain sensory channels, and other sensory channels become offline because it's new and it's different. So I might be prioritizing hearing and sight, for instance, or depending what it is, it might be touch and smell. As I become more familiar with something, I have more sensory channels available to myself. And when I have more sensory channels available at any one time, it means I can learn better, I can receive more information, I can grow, and then I can become more familiar. And as I become more familiar, I can keep receiving more sensory information and therefore integrate that through my body and my skill set and the way I'm using my body. That also helps me settle into this idea of familiarity. It's like if I can settle into familiarity and settle into each step is an increase in the sensory information I can receive, yeah, it's very cool. I noticed there's this guitar course I'm doing right now, and it's above my level. There's no doubt it's above my level, but I'm doing it anyway. And the first video was like 10 minutes long, and it was just like, wow, this is so hard. And so I spent the whole week on this first video, 10 minutes. And I was like, this course is going to take me years and years and years to do. Every time I watched the video again, I was receiving more sensory information. I was noticing things that I didn't hear before. I was seeing things I didn't see before. I was feeling things that I didn't feel before. My sensory capacity was growing, and that was like, yeah, wow, I'm learning more than I think I am by taking these steps of watching this video over and over again. So it can be repetition, it can be taking baby steps. Whatever builds the familiarity slowly. My sense of being able to take a little step every day is such an awesome way of reducing the fear and building that home ground. Yeah. And sometimes it's good to just jump right in as well, right? Sometimes it's just about jumping into the swimming pool and, yeah, experiencing it all. What else do I want to say? Are there any areas in your life that you would really love to step into, but fear gets in the way? Just allow your consciousness to be open and see what arises. Perhaps things that you've been wanting to do for a while, dreams, but something's been stopping you, or perhaps it's just about going to the next level. You might be quite good at something or okay at something, but going to the next level feels like there's some sort of barrier there. If that's the case, what would that be for you? What area of your life? And thinking about those things, how might you be able to increase a base level of familiarity? Not take such a big step, but just increase familiarity in some way and allow more information to be received. Kids do this naturally, don't they? You see a kid learning to ride a bike and they'll, get on and then they'll wobble a bit and they've got their stabilizers, and then they might have less stabilizers but like a small bike, and then gradually they work up to a bigger bike, and they might start on a flat pavement, then they might experiment going up and down a hill, and then later they might go off on a trail, off the road, off the tarmac. Little by little they're building up their familiarity. I hope this is helpful for you. I hope this reframing of where we find our blocks and our lack of a willingness to step in, by inviting, I'm not familiar with this yet. How might become more familiar, rather than, oh, that feels too scary, or oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just not familiar with this yet. Let's see how I can become familiar. If you've liked this video, do press like, and you can subscribe as well and press the notifications. If you feel like sharing it with someone, if you think someone might benefit, just using your intuition, I would love you to forward it. And if you want to sign up to my newsletter, you can go to www.resonating.love. And let's all be curious around how we can expand familiarity in multiple ways, in multiple directions in our life. It can be on all sorts of levels, can't it? So even being curious around what territories do I hold back? What territories do I open to? Typically, people tend to continue opening to one or two territories, and then every now and again a new one might come in. And so there's so many thousands of things in the world, aren't there? Like, what would it be if we could just open, like my friend I talked about, open to it all? Yeah, be really receptive. Wishing you a lovely week. So much love and light.